So I'm going to talk a little bit now about the kind of the overview of the wind farm. And as I mentioned before, originally it was 10 at about 3.6 megawatts each. And the reason 10 came up was we have a very interesting land pattern here where we have essentially the only non-residential lakefront from probably Waukegan down to Southworks. And it's from Northwestern to the southern edge of Dawes Park. It's about 2 miles long, and we could fit 10 turbines along there and just push them way out there. So that's how we started with this. And as we got into it, it made more sense to get to a 200 megawatt number. And so we took the 10 and made it a grid, 10 by 4, and increased the capacity from 3.6 each to 5. So we have 45 megawatt turbines, a total of 200 megawatts of rated capacity. And the idea is that, most of these offshore wind farms that you saw on that map of the United States are done in conjunction with higher education engineering schools. And not all of them, but a good percent of them. And so here we have Evanston with McCormick Engineering School right here. It's a great fit. And, Northwestern is, we've had meetings with Northwestern. They're very, very interested. Obviously, they haven't committed one way or the other, but I think it's a very good fit for them. So that's a great reason to locate it there. We would provide enough power with these 40 turbines to offset about 50,000 households. We keep refining this number, but I believe that's about right now. And it would meet multiples of the CO2 number that we're trying to meet. So that's a really fascinating aspect of this. Let's see. So this is a map that actually shows the location. There's Northwestern going down to Dawes, about a little less than 2 miles. And it would be 7 miles offshore. So that 7 miles is here. And we would angle it slightly so that it somewhat parallels the shoreline. We may even want to angle it more. And what's interesting about Lake Michigan, I think I have an even bigger map, but Lake Michigan doesn't just go like this. It actually rolls back right past that point. This is about the farthest east point right here. So people further north, it's getting further and further from them, so that's really a good thing. This shows kind of the big picture. Here's the 7 miles. And if you want to understand how far that is, if we go from the lakefront, well, here we are. We've gone through Skokie. We've gone through Morton Grove. Now we're on the other side of 294. That's how far it is offshore. Another great reason for locating them right where we want to is the lake is very shallow right at this point. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because the prevailing winds over millennia have pushed a lot of sand and whatnot out here, but it's very shallow on the east side. And one of the problems they've been having in Ludington in Michigan is they need to locate them fairly close to shore, and that's what's been giving them some issues there. We're lucky that we can get these way out here. Technically, we can go about 30 meters deep economically, and we're right in that range right there, and that puts us about 7 or so miles offshore. The specifications, I'm not going to get too detailed here, but other than to point out the 50,000 home number, and that Evanston has approximately 30,000 households. So it's more than enough for Evanston. And it would meet 336% of the Climate Action Plan's target. So you saw a lot of the really good programs that were mentioned before, and they were in the 5,000 metric ton range and 10,000 metric ton range. This is in the 447,000 metric ton range. Some local benefits that we would hope to achieve. When I previously gave this slide, I had the Olympics on here. So anyway, a green image for Northwestern and for Evanston. CO2 reduction, this was the smokiest darn picture I could find. Civic pride, I think it would just be amazing to have these around. Tourism, if we're going to take a few people out on Free at Last, you could envision massive trips of people going out there, more people coming into town and enjoying our great city. And then jobs. There's going to be some jobs created, not a tremendous amount, but there definitely will be some jobs for ongoing maintenance of them. And this is something that the RFI is going to really get into, and it's one of the questions that we pose to the people that were interested, is how much this is going to cost. And the idea is that this would be paid for by a wind farm developer. So it wouldn't cost the city anything. The wind farm developer would finance it, and there would be a 20-year power purchase agreement. And again, this is hypothetical, but this is not uncommon of what's been done. And that would be done on a straight line cost, so that there would be a known increase over 20 years. And that the real cost of power, even though it might be slightly lower right now, we know in 20 years, within 20 years, there's some pretty substantial things that Exelon, ComEd are going to have going on. There's nuclear power plants that are going to be decommissioned. The price of power in general is just going to be going up. If we get cap and trade in place, obviously that will alter the equation as well. So we're very curious to see what some people that submitted put down for this. And in the past, the city has paid a green premium for power already. I think they did that about 2 years ago for 1 or 1.5 years. It's not unusual to buy green power, and you can do that individually as well. So this is the view from the shore, and one of the things that alters the view is how much haze there is, the color of the turbines, if they're foggy or not. The first time we went out on the boat, everyone was all excited, and we got socked in. We couldn't even see the shore, which means we couldn't see out there. So, and if you have sun behind it or in front of it, just how clear it is, it's all going to impact it. But that's the 40 of them out there, and that's the parking lot at Dawes Park. And yeah, so the thing we've determined is when we were out there on the boat, that looking back at an equivalent height building, if you hold your pinky out at arm's distance sideways, it's less than half your pinky fingernail high. So that's the good reference point. You know what I'm talking about. And that was when we were thinking they were 4 miles offshore. Shipping, there were some questions that were raised about that, about how this would affect shipping lanes or just boats in general. I see no reason to think that boats can't get close to them. I know there's some distance that they're going to have to stay away from them, but it's not that far. And now, Brian, would you like to introduce Kevin?